Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome so much. Welcome and thank you for coming to join us today and tuning in to learn about glass in the gardens. We've got a beautiful display at Selby Gardens downtown campus up through September 20th. And if you haven't had a chance to see it, we're going to show you a little video in just a minute here that will give you a sneak peek of what it looks like. Now, we had more than 300 people RSVP for this program today, which is incredible. And we have 97 who have joined in already. So I think I'm going to get started in the interest of time. We're going to show this 1-minute video, and then I'll turn it over to our President and CEO, Jennifer Romanecki, to welcome you. It'll come back to me, and then I'll pass it back over to Duncan. Okay, so here we go.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jennifer Romanecki, President and CEO of Maurice Selby Botanical Gardens, and I'm happy to welcome you to our first Botanical Briefing of our 45th anniversary year. I hope that you and your loved ones are staying healthy and safe during this unprecedented time. While I wish I was greeting each of you in person, it is my pleasure to have you join us virtually for this popular lecture series. Today, we have more than 300 people tuning in. It would be great if you would chime in using the chat feature located at the bottom of your Zoom screen to let us know where you are tuning in from. Thank you for being here and for your continued support of Selby Gardens. As many of you know, we opened our exhibition in Dialogue with Nature, Glass in the Gardens earlier this month. We are grateful for our ongoing partnership with the Duncan McClellan Gallery in St. Petersburg, who has made this exhibit possible over the past 3 years. We are delighted to showcase these beautiful works of botanical glass at our downtown Sarasota campus as an extension of our exploration of the links between nature and art. Many thanks to the exhibition sponsor, Isabel Becker. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Duncan McClellan and Selby Gardens Vice President for Museum Exhibits, Learning and Engagement, Jeannie Perales, to begin the program. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jennifer. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Jeannie. As Jennifer mentioned, we've been working with Duncan and his fantastic gallery in St. Pete for the last 3 years. And if you've not heard Duncan speak or been to his gallery or seen our show, you're really in for a treat. First, I want to tell you where people are tuning in from, because I think this is so fascinating. We've got San Diego, we've got Lido Beach and Longboat Key, Sarasota, of course, Indianapolis, Lake Tahoe, Fisher's Island, New York, Gainesville, let's see, where else? Iowa, Connecticut, Sarasota off Stickney Point Road. I like that one, very specific. Sudbury, Massachusetts, Cape Cod, Kalamazoo, Michigan, Lakewood Ranch, Sarasota, Bradenton, of course, Greenport, New York, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and the list goes on and on. So this is just so fun for us to be able to reach all these people that we wouldn't normally be able to reach in the summer months. So again, thank you for joining us. So today's program is a Zoom webinar. I'm sure by this point in history, most of us have participated in these before, but with so many participants, we can neither hear nor see you. So when we do our interactive portion after Duncan's presentation, it's important that you put it into the chat feature. And that's located at the bottom part of your screen. And you can add a question or a comment there, just like you're doing here, telling us where you're tuning in from. So Duncan's going to present about 45 minutes of a slideshow and some embedded videos, and he won't be answering questions during that presentation. When he's finished, we'll come back together and I'll moderate a Q&A session, just so you understand how the program is going to be laid out. So one of the reasons we love to work with Duncan here at Selby Gardens is because our missions are actually very much aligned. We are, Duncan and myself, more than pretty faces. And the gallery and the gardens are more than pretty places. We have very much aligned education and engagement missions. And that's one of the things that resonated really deeply with me when I first met with Duncan a few years ago, talking about this, this endeavor. He'll tell you about it himself, but at an early age, Duncan had a life-changing experience with glass. And it was that early childhood experience that really shaped who he is today and shaped his gallery and just the person he is today. So, you know, at Selby Gardens, we work towards sharing our mission with our community, and we do so by engaging with over 10,000 students a year in botanical research, horticultural display, environmental education, archaeology, pioneering history, so on and so forth. We also offer lectures just like this, countless tours, and we engage with over 2,500 lifelong adult learners in our class program. So education is at the very core of our mission, and you're going to learn today how it's at the very core of Duncan's mission too. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Duncan McClellan, our master glass artist and founder of DMG Glass in St. Pete. Take it away, Duncan.
Good afternoon. Really, thank you, Jeannie. I wanted to thank Jennifer and Laura, Hermione, and everybody involved today, and all of the viewers for being here today. This is exciting for us. As they pointed out, it's our third year, and we do have a lot of things that are aligned. So thank you very much for being here. And I want to tell you a little bit about our history, how I came to glass, and some of my background, and how we're more than just a gallery. They want a background information, so my grandfather was a painter, a sculptor, also a writer. For a man that had a third grade education, went on to write 40 books. My mom and dad, Mac on the far left, and his wife Jennifer, my mom. Dad was in advertising, and my mom is a professional potter. My brother Mac and myself as a 5-year-old. I was lucky enough to meet the love of my life about 10 years ago, and we just celebrated our 7th anniversary, and she's very much a part of my life. They also want to see what the kids look like. This is Ramon and Monroe, our children. Well, growing up in a large family in Orlando, I have 7 brothers and sisters, and we had formal dinners every night. And one day my dad came home from the agency and announced that he was going to take us to the World's Fair to see the Pietà. And my parents would take all of us to many different art venues and instill a sense of understanding about art. And I think it was cheaper to take us to a museum than it was a movie. Well, Dad loaded us all up in the old Valiant station wagon with a tinkle can in the back, because my dad was more of a person that would want to go from point A to point B as quickly as possible and go from point B back to point A as quickly as possible. My mom was a little different. She wanted to be a little bit more adventurous, so we would stop digging for emeralds or go to an Indian burial ground. And then we stopped at Blanco Glassworks, which is the first time that I had ever seen molten glass. And it was mesmerizing to me. I kept hiding whenever I would hear my number being called, so I could stay and watch more of the glass blowing. The reason we had numbers is that one of my sisters was on a previous trip, was left at a gas station about 100 miles back. So from then on, we had to go by numbers. And I want to tell you some of my experiences. We're all a combination of all the things we wanted to do in life, we've done. And it's those experiences that we bring to the present. When I was 14, I had a line of leather belts that I made and we sold in the Winter Park area throughout several different boutiques. And then I became a potter. My mother, as I said, was a professional potter. She certainly was far better than I would ever become in the medium. And it wasn't until I was age 30 that I had an opportunity to blow glass. I had a few lessons at a very small furnace in Ybor City, but there wasn't really many studios to further my education in the state of Florida. So I ended up going to the New York Experimental Glass Workshop, and I would work 3 jobs to save money so that every 3 months I could go up there and blow glass for a few days. Initially, the man on the left is John Brecky, one of my dear friends and an incredible artist. He wouldn't teach me for the first 2 years until he saw how determined I was to get involved in glass. I rented a facility from someone that I had met up there that built a facility in St. Petersburg, and then eventually opened my own studio. Here I'm working with Vasil Lajanu, a Romanian artist that was on my team for about 13 years. Well, my work centers about a lot of different things, but I have to make a canvas first. So I make a blank by either building up layers of color, and another bubble is attached and inverted inside out to become a thin skin on this surface, or the bubble is rolled in minute frit, minute powders of colorants that end up being melted in and become a thin skin. The piece is blown out, it's put into an annealer, an oven to slowly cool it down, because if we just left it out, it would burst. And it has to be controlled to a cooled state. If it's a good one, it goes through a 6-stage grinding and polishing, and then it becomes the raw canvas. It's then taped up with a resist tape. It's drawn on with a magic marker, cut with an X-Acto knife, and then put into the sandblaster and sandblast away the background, just leaving my images in the foreground. When there's very minute images like what you're seeing on the screen right now, those are pre-cut and laid down one at a time to make the resist. And my work centers around experiences I have. One of the things I always wanted to be a farmer. Friends of mine were going out to California to go to different vineyards. And of course, I tried the wine, but for the most part, I was out talking to the farmer about the soil and compost and all of those things. And sometimes when I was traveling, I would think of a place I wanted to go, make a piece, and that would help fund my vacation. This is called Mainsail. It depicts the city of St. Petersburg. It was used as a poster for that art show, Mainsail art show. My love of the gardens, I think that's why I have a affinity with Selby Gardens, who has been a jewel of Florida for almost 50 years. Congratulations on your anniversary. But it's about that vitality and that growth that I think interests me and why I do a lot of botanicals. Sometimes it's observing something on a minute level. Dragonflies are often thought of as little dainty creatures, the things of fairies. But if you look at them very closely, they're really predators. They have very fierce faces, and we really like them here in Florida because they eat lots of mosquitoes. 50th Cousin is a series depicting how all of us are connected. We have more than 300 people that came on today, and I bet if they had an opportunity to talk to each other, I bet you would find some combination of some family relationship. Sometimes it's about where I'm at a particular time in life. Prior to meeting Irene, I was kind of floating through life kind of blindfolded, oblivious to the dangers on either side. And sometimes I'm pointing out things I don't like about myself. I caught myself prejudging someone. And this piece is entitled Glass Houses and Other People's Shoes. Our gallery where we live is situated right next to the Pinellas Trail. And we see a lot of cyclists. And one of the observations I had is that when these cyclists pass each other, even though they're on separate paths, there's that split second of time where their wheels match up. And it very much reminds me of that split second of time that glass captures, or a particular friendship that you strike up that ends up being a very important thing in your life, or that split second of time that I met Irene. This piece is kind of funny. This is probably one of the largest pieces I've ever done. It has the symbols of 14th century alchemy symbols that when you follow that actually is the formula for glass. But we were getting ready for an exhibition, a very important exhibition for me, and I even rented a larger truck because I wasn't sure of my own truck. And we filled up all the things we needed, and it was still only half full. So I turned to my assistant, Eric, at the time, and said, hey, Eric, shouldn't we bring any more pieces with us as backup? And he looks at me and says, with your ego, we won't have any more room. So that became the title of the piece, Funeral Urn for an Artist's Ego. Well, my new work is very different, and hopefully an artist does evolve. My new work does not allow it to be put on a pedestal. It's more about creating a community and creating a center. What my whole idea is that Seattle it has over 75 hot shops. And that's where Dale Chihuly started the whole contemporary movement in that area, and why there's so many artists there. Well, I wanted to become Seattle South. This is just shortly after I bought the building. in 2009. And the first thing we did, as you can see, is we put in our fruit trees. I'm a firm believer in getting trees into the ground immediately. We started construction that took more time than we thought, it always does, and much more money than we thought, as it always does. And I'm going to show you a few slides of some of the before and after. And as you can see, our gardens have really grown up. And these are some interior images of what our gallery looks like and some of the 125 artists that we represent. Here's one of our favorite artists, Stephen Powell, that would grace us by coming and doing a show, and he put on theater. He actually needed scaffolding to be able to blow his work. Nancy Callan, a very accomplished artist in Seattle who studied with Lino Tiapla-Petra. Stefan Pahn, who was our second artist that I ever had in the gallery. And this is our present show with several artists from Australia. Shelley Allen, one of Stephen's wonderful panels. And this show was with John Miller, who collaborated with all of his friends to create these giant goblets. John is known for making giant hamburgers, hot dogs, and many other things. And he's always a joy to bring in. He brings a lot of energy. Richard Jolly is one of the pillars of the contemporary glass movement, and he's unusual. He and his wife, Tommy Rush, are unusual in the fact that they make their own glass and their own color. Most artists in glass buy color to melt, buy clear glass to melt or batch like we do, and we incorporate the colors in the process. Richard does everything from scratch, very old school. And what makes this piece pretty unusual is it's really one color. It's a process of striking, and he's able to heat certain areas more than others. When he heats certain areas more than others, they take on a much deeper red. Less heat takes more of an amber look. Here's Richard blowing in the hot shot. And this is Raven Sky River. One of the things we do, and I'll touch on it later, are residencies. And he wanted to make this sea turtle, but to do that, and he was renting studios, is that it would cost him about $5,000 to accomplish it. Well, we provided him the time to be able to make that, and he was successful. As you can see, glass is very much like a ballet or a surgical team. Everybody has to know where to be at any given time. And it does take that working together, really does help in making the team understand what needs to be done at any given second. Shelley Muzelowski Allen, it took me 2 years to pronounce her middle name, is an incredible sculptor, and they live in the Seattle area as well. Here's Shelley working on a piece, and this is Rick Allen's work. He centers most of his work on space and spaceships. Even though it doesn't look like glass, the entire thing is glass, and he's done an overlay in silver during the blowing process. One of Stephen's panels and our garden. We show a lot of different sculptors in the garden: Mark Chatterley, Dale Rogers, Jane Jaskovich, and a few others. I have some of my lit sculptures in the garden, and we planted every tree and orchid you see there. We have over 70 tropical fruit trees and nuts, and we have about 400 orchids in the garden. It's nothing like Selby, but we're happy with it. It certainly gives me things to do in the morning. Well, recognizing that we had all these famous artists that were coming in, we would need a stage for them. And we created St. Pete Hot Glass Workshop. And it's a professional studio, which we now have a great deal of different capabilities, which you're about to see. This is John Brecky, who did a master class with us. Alexis Silk, who lives both in Italy and in the United States. And interestingly, she was the third American that ever was allowed to work at the ARS Murano studio. And I was the second. So I was really surprised when I read her resume. Nancy Callan, Gabe Feenan and John Miller, Jennifer Caldwell, who primarily does flame working, but she also collaborates with Jason Chartavarki, who does Pat de Verre. Here's Shelley and Rick working together. Actually, the piece that they're working on is in our studio right now. Stephen's team working on a piece. And having created this complex, so to speak, we drew a lot of people to our place. But we also recognized that we wanted to encompass other arts and other people. And after I had just gotten my place open, Rick Baker, a previous mayor that still thinks he's mayor, came over to our studio and said, you have to make the Warehouse Arts District. And I looked at him like, why do I have to do that? And I just finished this. I don't have any money. He said, you don't need money and it'll only take you 10 minutes. Well, I've seen him many times, and he finally admitted he totally lied to me. That's surprising from a politician. Well, we've created a mile square area. We did a logo contest. I funded that. We funded bringing a trolley in to get people to go to other galleries and things. And in this quadrant, we have over 250 artists that work out of the Warehouse Arts District. The way it got started is we just put it in newspaper articles. I printed it on our envelopes, and we finally got designation from the city, and we are now one of the 6 arts districts that St. Petersburg has. Some of the members are like the Morian Center for Clay and the old train station. They house over 80 artists right there alone in one of the trolleys. Zen Glass Studio down the street from us. They teach classes as well, primarily in flame working, and they have an art gallery. Atelier, which is a sculpture studio. Charlie Parker, who is a very popular artist, and as you can see, people have a lot of fun in his classes as well. And Mark Ayling, who is the president of the Warehouse Arts District now, and world-renowned studio and artist, creating very large public sculptures. We're also home to 70 murals. So it's a great thing to grab the app or to get a guided tour. And you'll see all the incredible artists that have come to St. Pete to paint our walls. Well, the mission of teaching and helping other artists were actually started from the very beginning of when I started my career. But as we opened the gallery and we were doing more, it got past what I could personally fund. And we created a DMG school project, Demonstrate, Mentor, and Grow. And that is a 501c3 that allows us to do many things in conjunction with the gallery, but primarily to educate and show the relationships, particularly to students, of what they're learning in school now applies to anything afterwards. And I think if you can show kids a real reason why they're learning something and they can use it for something else that interests them, you've got them captured. If you can show them how to self-educate, you now have somebody that will go on to maybe cure cancer or cure canker in the orange groves. So it's that learning that we wanted to continue, and we started DMG School Project. We partner with a lot of inner city schools through our mobile glass labs. We teach the public by having demonstrations here and going out giving lectures around the country. And we provided quite a few residencies and demonstrated to many people over the last 7 or 8 years. We started an outreach program on etching. The way it works is that there's 3 lesson plans. The teacher gets the first lesson here. They take the supplies back to their classroom. They download information as to the history or the chemistry or the math of glass, and teach that in the 2 lessons, along with teaching them how to set up their plate for the final day when they come visit us and they get to etch it. Here's some of our kids. We keep them corralled for a little while out in the garden, and we give them a tour through the gallery talking about the different properties of glass, the physics of glass. And one of the things that really thrills me is after we have explained this to the kids and they come up with a question of how another piece is made. And I ask them to try to figure it out. And with the information they had just received, they are able to figure out how to make that piece. It's really it's a thrill for me. This is our own Josh. Josh Camazo is in the show as well. You'll see some of his works in the Selby show that we have. Here they're giving demonstrations. The kids generally pay attention. Marielle Bass. They look a little fearful, but it's amazing how polite people will be with 2,300 degrees near them. Here they are going into our mobile unit for sandblasting. And this is our own Danielle Bauer, who is one of the artists in the show as well. Here she's explaining, covering the entire piece for one of the students. Some of the happy kids. And this shot we wanted to include because these kids are really wonderful. I think the middle one is trying to suck up to his teacher, but the one on the right is John. John not only was incredibly talented, what really impressed us is how kind he was to the other students. So we asked his teacher to find out from his parents if we could give him a scholarship to some of our master classes. Here's a group from Washington that we had down. And in doing our outreach programs, and it was great to be able to do the sandblasting and have the kids come, but we can only service about 30 to 50 kids at a time. And we really wanted to reach more kids because we know the information we have will excite them. And so at a board meeting we had for DMG School Project, we have a very small board, there's only 6 of us. And I was very excited about the possibility of buying a furnace that we could take to schools. And I went to the bathroom and came back and they had funded it. So it's amazing what can be done by a small group. Well, one of the things I forgot is we had no way of getting it there. And so I thought I would do a fundraiser for a trailer and a truck. Well, one of our patrons saw the photo that I was going to use with Josh on the bike pulling the furnace. He said, "How much is the trailer? I'll fund it," and he did. But our accountant made me buy the truck. Here's, we're going to a few schools. This is how we can teach so many kids in one day. We teach about 400 to 700 kids in a day. We have condensed the information down to about a 22-minute presentation. They come in, they sit down, and the gang starts to work educating. This is Lauren Hill, another artist that's in the Selby show. You'll see her wonderful peaches in the gallery. Lauren Hill is the DMG coordinator, but she's multi-talented. She can describe the process and assist. And as you can see, those banners in the back have a lot of information on how glass is made and the science of glass. We also do a lot of craft shows, not to sell anything. We're using this to demonstrate to the public, but DMG also sponsors some emerging artists in outdoor shows, and I mentor them on how to make a living as an artist, because I made a very good living for many years doing outdoor shows, and I think it's a very viable way of an emerging artist getting out there and getting their work seen by many people. We also wanted to take people that had never touched glass before and get them excited and being able to make things. So in our 3-day glass weekends, we invite master artists to come in. We have about 8 to 10 students at a time. And over a 3-day period, they're going to be making 1 or 2 pieces that are incredible through the experience. Here's Deanna Clayton, one of our more popular teachers. We sell out our class every time that she comes down. She does pâte verre, which are crushed particles of glass that are melted in a mold. And some of the shots from the class. Here's Sammy. Another class where they're teaching hot glass. And these are some of our students. I'd like to shout out to Priscilla and Sylvia for taking our classes. It's wonderful to have you. And thanks for being here today. Here's John and John. And these are some of the pieces that actually came out of our master class made by our students. Rob Stern will be one of our featured artists this October. He will be doing demonstrations here as well, and a lecture, and as well as in North Pinellas, which will become a new outpost for us. Starting out as an emerging artist, it's very difficult because glass blowing, hot glass in particular, is very expensive. Our hot shop runs about $1,000 a day to operate. So it's very hard for an emerging artist to put 20,000 together or 25,000 to be able to mount a body of work to be able to show in a gallery. So we decided that it was really important to start these residencies. And we are very, very grateful to Jean and Julia for being one of the groups of patrons that have helped set up this residency. Our residencies are 6 weeks long. We put them up for 6 weeks. We give them a stipend. I mentor them during that time period about how to deal with galleries, how to make a living in glass, as I've been doing it for about 30 some odd years. We also coach them in how to do a lecture, and we give them an exhibition. And because our gallery has gained both national and internationally recognition, or we're recognized internationally, it's very good for their resume. This is Eli Cecil. In the Selby show, you will see one of his bonsai, beautiful bonsai trees, and Nikolai Morse. Raven and Jake. And Steve Hagen and Aya Oki. Steve Hagen, I think in the beginning clip, you saw that beautiful lime and some of his other pieces in the Selby show. And Aya Oki is a Japanese artist that we're very happy to not only that she had her residency, but her career really has taken off since then. And that's what I like, is the track record of our emerging artists really go on.
Hello, my name is Aya Oki. I'm an emerging artist in residence at Duncan McClellan Glass Studio in September. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. DMG residency gave me a very special experience. In my time at this residency, I was able to focus on and refine my current art series. This is thanks to the wonderful team and the mentors that supported me throughout my time here. In addition, this residency taught me about the relationship between myself, galleries, and my audience. I truly grew as an artist, thanks to my time at DMG. Finally, the community here is very skilled and supportive. It is a great environment to get inspired and to grow. I highly recommend this residency to all emerging artists. Thank you.
Well, Aya was absolutely delightful, and we just had a Zoom meeting with her a few weeks ago, and we've invited her back to work with another artist that we have from Japan, and I think it's going to be a great residency. I wanted to create a place and a site that when visitors come to St. Petersburg or Pinellas County, they can find where all the glass is. And so we started a website called glasscoast.com that you can get on, and it will link you to every museum, every gallery, every individual artist, any public piece dealing with glass throughout the whole county. So it's a very useful tool. Here's some of the members. Imagine Museum. It's an entire museum just of glass. We represent about 25 of the same artists that are in that museum, which I'm very proud of. The Chihuly collection by the Morian. If it wasn't for Dale Chihuly, nobody would be paying attention. So we're very grateful that they're here. Dali did a number of glass pieces that are on display there. Zen Glass Studio, right around the corner from us. And as you can see, we're really more than a gallery.
I would say the underlying philosophy is that there's a connection between all of us. As if you really believe that philosophy, it not only carries in your life, but it carries into your work, and then it carries into how you change the world. My name's Duncan McClellan. I'm a glass artist that also is a gallerist. We have a gallery with about 50 internationally known artists. When I first decided was looking at St. Petersburg or Clearwater, I wanted to see how art could change a neighborhood. There's things that we're going to be doing in this neighborhood and as a city that's really going to put the arts in St. Pete on the map nationally.
For the city of St. Petersburg to actually call itself a city of the arts, we have to have artists here. Over the years, more and more artists started moving down into this neck of the woods. This is an industrial corridor that sits along the Pinellas Trail. The Pinellas Trail used to be the train tracks that serviced the industry that sat on the south side of the city. Duncan brought with him a lot of energy and some resources and a very good business mind. He's a talented businessman as well as talented artist. And he started getting a lot of traffic. It became apparent that there was a need to help artists and combine their efforts. So basically what we did was we formed an association, the Warehouse Arts District Association. The mission of that basically is to combine the resources of artists so that they can expand their marketing potential and also create an interface with the municipality.
The good thing about the Warehouse Arts District is that it was intended and built by artists for artists.
We recognized the need to be moving people around in the neighborhood. There were many talented artists in this neck of the woods. So through the help of a couple of members of City Council, we started to lease trolleys. And it was a smashing success. And it really put the Warehouse Arts District on the map. And it became the thing to do.
DMG is really the focus of what goes on here because we're more than a gallery. We are very involved in the community and help form the Warehouse Arts District.
Duncan's vision was to have a sort of a comprehensive, more than just a gallery type gallery studio environment.
The educational charity is very special to us.
Part of the mission of the DMG School Project was to raise money to fund artists and their residencies here at St. Pete Hot Glass.
And so with the month that they're with us, they not only are able to create a whole body of work, but they're given materials so that when they leave this show, they have the ammunition to go out and get other shows.
So DMG will allow an artist to come into the studio, designing, creating, experimenting, maybe trying something they wouldn't normally do because the cost was too much to consider.
The magic of glass is that so many people can approach it at different levels. Glass is a very wonderful medium.
I think what attracted me most to glass blowing was the pace of the work environment.
The more you do, the better you become, the faster you become. Faster in glass blowing means better.
It involves a choreography that everybody has to understand in order to get the piece achieved.
It's a mixture of physical exertion, but also the ability to work in collaboration and teamwork. It's very much like ballet with molten material. Starting out with the raw ingredients that are molten at about 2,000 degrees.
It's refined into its purest form and mixed with any number of ingredients.
You build up a sufficient amount of glass to be able to blow whatever you've envisioned. And typically, the team huddles before blowing so everybody knows where to be at any split second. Because if you have to voice what you need, it's too late in glass. When I first got excited about glass, it wasn't really for me to become a glass artist. I was so excited about other people's glass, what they were doing with the medium, that got me caught up in it. So being this gallerist exposes me to all these great artists, and I get to see the work on a daily basis because we live here. It's very exciting to me. What's interesting about our place is that we bring in artists once a month. They've never blown here before often.
The idea in building St. Pete Hot Glass was to make sure that any artists could show up and perform or create or demonstrate their specific medium and the techniques that they're used to doing.
He started having openings on Second Saturday and kind of revitalized the Second Saturday events.
He is here not to build this tiny space, but he is here to build a community that all of us wish we could fit into and hope we can.
Well, hope you enjoyed that a little bit more view of what our place looks like, but people have asked what we are doing next. And there's a lot of different things. This is one idea I had. It might go on the back burner, but this is going to be the first art zip line that will go from all over the Warehouse Arts District. I found out legally we can do that, but I think that's going to go on the back burner for now. What we're presently doing is that we're opening up other spaces for doing exhibitions, such as Selby Gardens. We're also doing a new outpost in North Pinellas that we'll be able to do classes out there, as well as Mary Childs, our art director, will be curating shows out there as well. And an exciting new thing that we'll be doing is our filming capability will be coming up, and we'll be doing tutorials that people can download, particularly teachers, now that kids have to be at homeschool. So that will allow us to continue on that teaching. And eventually, shortly, we will have our own YouTube channel. One last thing that we're going to be doing is about a year from now, there is a apartment building going up that will be called Gallery 3100. And we will have a permanent exhibition. It will have some revolving features in that show, but they'll have a number of pieces that will be a permanent fixture for that building. So I want to thank all of you for being here today. It's a chance to talk to you. I really hope you stop by Selby. It's a very safe place to visit, and you can see some wonderful gardens and wonderful glass, and the way that they display it is spectacular. So thank you all for being here.
Well, thank you so much, Duncan. That was absolutely fantastic. And I think our participants and attendees really, really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we've got a few comments and a couple questions that have come in through our chat feature. So I'm going to share these with you. First of all, we're getting lots of, fervent applause. I love that. Wonderful presentation. So impressed. And we got a pretty interesting question here that I thought you might like. What adaptations have you been able to make with your workshops for people and students during the pandemic? Have you been able to reach people in alternative ways?
Yes, we have. It takes a great deal of planning. All of us have been through times that are less good than others. And it's what you do in that time, preparing for the future, I think is what's going to make a huge difference for us. For an example, we're expanding our hot shop. We'll be able to have 30 viewers in our hot shop, spaced 6 to 7 feet apart from each other. We've come up with a whole procedure of when we will start our classes again, of how to do it exceedingly safe. It's something that I think we have to do for quite a while. So we are presently going to be doing some classes in the fall, but we're taking it kind of slow. The real way we're going to be reaching people is through our videos. And that will be a way to not only teach other glass artists because of the new capabilities that we'll have, but also reach, for an example, we made a YouTube for my sister who teaches kindergarten in Texas. And the kids loved it because something blew up. And that's how we get their attention. You use hot glass or you blow something up and you can capture that kid. And it gives them, the teacher or the parents, a little bit of break while the kids are being engrossed in it.
Well, there's no doubt about it. You've been extremely innovative your whole career, so it's really cool to see what you guys are doing during this time to continue your mission of reaching people. Gail Condrick asked if it's possible to come see you guys at the gallery.
Yes, we are open for your personal shopping experience. We are not open. You do need to make a reservation, and we would love to see you. So you will have basically a private time period in the galleries. We've turned everything over to touch-free. You can't walk 2 feet without hitting a hand sanitizer. And we have a procedure that we know is safe. Plus our galleries, one of the big thing about our galleries is that it's pretty much open air. Big tall ceilings and big open doors. So we'd love to see you.
Thanks, Duncan. And of course, you can come see the beautiful show at Selby Gardens through September 20th. And there's pieces in the conservatory, the koi pond, and the museum. And I also wanted to emphasize that a significant portion of the proceeds go to supporting our mission at Selby. And of course, the rest of it goes to supporting Duncan's mission. So it's a real win-win to support both of these places and of course, these artists. This year, Mary Childs, who's the artistic director at Duncan McClellan Glass, put together a beautiful show of all the artists that work there at the gallery. We have in years past represented other or showcased other artists from around the country, but this time it's very much homegrown. It's a real kind of in our backyard kind of show, and we're really enjoying that aspect of it. So I wanted to give Mary big kudos for all the work that she did. And I also wanted to thank Laura Avery, who's my right-hand person here at Selby, who puts on our exhibitions and classes. And they've both done a beautiful job putting this nice exhibition together. We got some really nice comments here, Duncan. One person just said, "Thank you for making art accessible." I couldn't agree more. It's really refreshing. It's so nice that you
Thank you.
You have that mission really, and you're so relatable as a person that, you know, it kind of takes the mystery out of it to some degree, which is a great thing. I think makes it very accessible. So I also wanted to let you all know that, you know, in the past 2 years when we put on these shows, we did have programs that we did with DMG where we took a tour bus up and etched our own beer steins, I think it was, and wine glasses, and also visited the Imagine Museum in St. Pete. So we hope that by next summer, which of course we intend to work with Duncan and Mary again, that we can get back to doing those programs with them.
I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
We love working with you.
That's great. You know, I just wanted to ask you, Duncan, this is a question that I've kind of had is, what are your main sources of inspiration for your work?
My garden. I mean, that's why I think we have this affinity. The garden is a constant, I'm not an angsting artist. So my things are about life and happiness and those kind of things.
Yeah, so it makes it such a great fit. Well, Duncan and Mary, do you have anything else you want to add?
Well, Jeannie, I want to say thank you. It's always a pleasure to work with you in the gardens, and thanks for providing our artists with the opportunity to exhibit their work. It's always great to work with you, and it's such a great location. We see a lot of people coming to the gallery who really appreciate what you do. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. The feeling's mutual. I just got another comment here asking if there will be a link available, and we will make a link available. We do have a Selby Gardens YouTube page, and we will be posting this and sharing it. We've been recording this presentation today. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. We're getting lots and lots of back patting here, Duncan. So great job.
Thank everybody. This has been a wonderful experience. I don't think I've ever given a lecture with 300 people. So this is a first for me. It's been really a wonderful experience. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you all, and we hope that you'll tune in. We'll continue to do some lectures like this pretty much on a monthly basis. We have one coming up later in September. All of this information will be on our website. I also wanted to remind our guests that our 40th anniversary photographic competition is up online for all to see. Some really just spectacular pictures of our beautiful gardens on both campuses. Now we've got the historic Spanish Point campus just south and the downtown campus. So I hope you all will join, will enjoy that presentation online. And again, this show is up through September 20th at the downtown campus. And I hope everyone marks their calendar because our fall orchid show is going to be opening October 10th. So everyone stay well, and we will see you in the gardens. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Take care.